Hey, so some people have been DMing me about POI selection, and I thought I'd just kind of like make like a really quick explanation on what I see, and on how I see things. But basically, all of this knowledge is being taught at Phantom FX. So if you're interested in this kind of like knowledge and stuff, do check them out because I am one of their students currently. So everything you see from me is technically from them. So do check them out. Um, but yeah, let's get into the video. Alright, so to save your time, the three things that I look for to make a POI high probability is, did it break supply or demand in some way or structure? Second is, did it sweep liquidity? And then third, is there inducement above or below it, depending on if it's a bearish supply or if it's a bullish demand. These are the three things that I look for. That's basically it. But do remember the fact that you kind of have to pair structure and with POI selection and trend and all that stuff, and not just POIs in itself, because you can just trade every valid POI. Even the high probability POIs won't work out every time. You have to pair it with a narrative and a story to make sense of it. Alright, your POIs are just for your entries, but your story is built on your higher time frames, like the daily or the weekly or the monthly or whatever. But just build a story top down and you'll be fine. Okay, so on GU last week, I'm just gonna like play back Friday of last week. What we saw that price kind of like failed to make a higher high, right? We wicked it, but we didn't close above it, all right? And we are pretty bullish right now. However, we did kind of see bearish intent coming into the market with this breakout structure to the downside. We saw that, and then we're seeing kind of like we're respecting that bearish trend. Basically, we're seeing mitigations, and we're seeing kind of like supply taking control. So at this point in time, we may like tell ourselves, all right, maybe the market is switching to a bearish order flow, because if it's bullish, it should do something like this, but it failed to make a new high. It wicked it, and then it broke structure to the downside. So I think we can kind of say that maybe right now we are switching to a bearish market, right? All right, switch down to the 4-hour. What do we see? We do see some recent POIs right here, like this supply being broken out of, and this one as well being broken out of. So this is where we are in the market right now. Drop down to the 15-minute. This is Friday's price action. Somewhere here. Yeah, this is Friday's price action. So we saw a failure of that H4 supply right here, right? We saw that, and this is, although we are bullish on like the H4 kind of for the M15, remember the bigger picture is we are bearish right now, right? We're seeing lower lows and lower highs being made. So we kind of expect this to be that pullback, maybe to create a new low down here, but we don't know that. But we're expecting that this could be that lower high, right? So what we're seeing right now is we're seeing this H4 supply being broken. What broke it? This is that last point of M15 demand that took it out before that big move upwards, right? And then it held throughout all of this, and then it failed. Right, it fell right here, and then it came down to, let me just drop down here real quick. It came down, this is that high time frame demand right here. I forgot to draw this out, but this is what it looks like. And then we also have this is basically on the H4. This is like the last point of demand that took out the supply. So this is the last point of bearish intent in the market before supply failed. So this is that. This is just like a really, I won't really count this as a demand, to be honest with you, but I mean you could, but I did not at that time, so it doesn't matter. But we saw a break of demand anyway. We saw a break of demand, and then we see something that we saw on the higher time frames, right? We saw a high being made. However, we see that this high did not broken and closed above. It merely wicked it before we start to see signs of like demand fading right here. You saw demand fail. You saw demand fail. Here it is. Demand's failing. We have a reaction, and it failed. So right now we can kind of say like, all right, we're seeing demand levels fail, right? And we also see this weak low right above this H4 demand, right? So this H4 demand has inducement above it, right? And because this is a weak low, because it failed to create a new high before price started to dip, so this is what we expect as inducement, and we expect this to be run. All right, so it did get run right here, but whatever, let's just go through that later. It did get run, but what caused it to be run, right? This acts as inducement for the POI below, right? So this was where I came to the markets. It was like in the morning. So I saw this supply right here, and this supply stood out to me. Like, not this one. Like, yes, this is a valid M15 supply. However, don't notice that we do not have inducement above it. All right, this is inducement. You could say like this is maybe the inducement for it. All right, just put LQ inducement, right? However, this POI didn't sweep liquidity, right? It merely came up to mitigate something and then it dipped. So this one didn't sweep liquidity. This one, however, did. All right, it swept all of this liquidity right here. It swept all of that right here, and then it caused a breakout structure to the downside. Even though it's just an M15 low, it did still cause some breakout structure, and right, and then like not only that, we also have inducement above it. This is inducement. This is inducement, right? So we have that, and then we're seeing demand levels fail on the M15. So my idea at this point of time was like, all right, this is a POI that swept liquidity, it broke demand, we have inducement above it. I'm going to be looking for something like this. This is also, keep in mind that this is the Asia lows at the time, so I was like, all right, so I'm expecting the market to maybe sweep this, so I could go long from here to here and go short from here to here. All right, and if we're seeing this fail, then we're probably heading lower. But at this point of time, I'm only expecting this low to be swept, because sometimes the market likes to sweep the highs and the lows right here. So we're seeing this being swept to this demand. It actually failed, so this has more of a confirmation that we are going to be seeing lower prices and supply is kind of in control after seeing all of this demand failure. Right, so we swept this low, demand's failing, and price came up to tap it, and then it went down. I didn't take a trade because I couldn't find any good entry. Like, price action was so shit on Friday, it was so range bound. But the idea played out, right? The idea was that we have a weak low that failed to create a new higher high, and then we're starting to see demand fail, and then supply is in control. Right, this POI was really high probability because it swept liquidity. It swept liquidity right here. It caused demand failure. It broke structure right here. It broke structure down here, and then it also has inducement above it. And then guess what? Got tapped right to the fucking pip, and then it dipped down to this demand running this low, right? And I do have proof of that. Oh, what's that? Oh shit. My bad. But I do have this proof where it was sent on October 22nd. As you can see, this is my time zone, and this is what I expected it to happen. I sent this to a friend. I'm like, hey, you know, this is what I expect to happen. We could see shorts being played here. We could see a sweep of this, so we can go long from here to here maybe. If this fails, maybe we're seeing, you know, demand being on control. But basically that's what the idea was, right? That's what the idea was. So yeah, this is just building that narrative on your hard time frames. Like this is done all the way from the daily to like the H4 to like the 15, and then your entries are found on the 1 minute, right? It's all a story and you all have to tell it. But that's just like a quick video on the breakdown of last week's PA on Friday. I hope you enjoyed it. Happy trading. I'll see you guys when I feel like making a video next time. See ya.